Hey everybody, my name's Jason. Welcome to the One Man Huddle NFL podcast, where we're going to be coming to you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week, breaking down the NFL news such as injuries, predictions, everything that you could think of. We're going to be covering it in this podcast. Um, so we're going to just get started. First episode, so things are going to work a little bit differently going forward, probably once I get into the groove of things. But we're going to start off with Josh Jacobs avoiding a severe knee injury. He was injured this past week against the Giants. He went to the locker room, didn't come back. He could potentially be available this week, depending on how the swelling goes, according to Matt LaFleur. Big boost if he's able to play for the Packers. They're trying to keep up with the Lions and the Bears in their division. The Bears currently sit first in that division, so weird times in the NFL. Michael Penix Jr., right before I started recording this, he's set to have season-ending knee surgery. He was already placed on IR earlier this week. And if you're asking me, the Falcons need to be worried about his injury history because he's had 5 of 8 seasons in his college and NFL career ended early because of an injury, including 2 right knee surgeries because of an ACL injury. This one he's going to have, because of this particular injury, he's going to be on his left knee, so now he's going to have both knees are recovering from a traumatic injury. Kirk Cousins is going to get the start this week. I assume he'll start for the rest of the season, if I had to guess. He's going to be without one weapon this week, Drake London, who has a PCL injury on his left knee, but it doesn't look like it's a long-term injury. They're not expected to put him on IR or anything like that. CJ Stroud set to miss his 3rd straight game with a concussion. He's still in protocol. He's been out since the game. He went out of the game against the Broncos in week 10. Never returned, and he's been out since then. So he will not play tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football against the Bills. Another big one, Jamar Chase suspended for a game for spitting on Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey was ejected during the game because he threw a punch at Jamar Chase, but there was no penalty or anything against Jamar Chase. In the game, he appealed his suspension and it was denied. He's still suspended for 1 game. That is finalized. Aaron Rodgers is lucky to avoid surgery on his left wrist. Looks like he has a fracture in his left wrist, but he's pushing to start this week. So he has a fracture in his left wrist, so it's not his throwing hand, but still, you don't want to risk that with a quarterback, especially if you're trying to make a push to the playoffs. And then the New York Jets are going to start Tyrod Taylor over Justin Fields this week. I've heard potentially for the whole season. I haven't seen anything confirming that myself. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Justin Fields, he's coming off of an effort, 15 of 26 passing for 116 yards and a touchdown, as well as 11 carries for 67 yards and 1 more touchdown on top of that. The season stats, less than good with him at the quarterback. He's only got a little over 12. He's less than 1,300 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1 pick in 9 starts this year. The team sits 25th in points per game on offense and 29th in yards per game on offense. So they're trying to find a spark, hoping Tyrod Taylor can be that spark. I don't really know what to expect from the Jets, especially with all the trades that they made at the deadline to get rid of Sauce Gardner and Williams. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not expecting the Jets to win another game this year, but maybe they'll prove me wrong. Joe Burrow is closing in on returning from IR, but I'm not convinced he'll actually play at all this year for the rest of the year. That is, the Bengals sit well outside of the playoffs right now at 3-7. They're last in the division. Well, no, not last. Second to last in the division. The Browns still do exist. That's my fault. But yeah, I don't know if they jeopardize him to put him in if they're on the brink of playoff elimination, and it just seems too far-fetched to make a run at the end of the year. So we'll see. And then speaking of the Browns, right before I started recording this as well, it was announced Shedeur Sanders is going to start this week. He played last week. He came in for Dylan Gabriel. He went 4 for 16 for 47 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Not fully his fault that his stats are that bad. He also carried the ball 3 times for 16 yards. His offensive line was bad when he was in there. I saw a clip where 3 offensive linemen for the Browns blocked one guy on the Ravens, and they had a rusher that was able to just come free instead of they would have had an extra lineman regardless if 3 guys hadn't been on one. So that's not fully on him. He also had no first team reps going into the game. So I expect him to be a little bit better this upcoming week, but that remains to be seen. We'll find out. The Saints are expected to play, or they're not expected to, they expect to play in Paris in 2026. Team president came out and said in a statement yesterday, you might hear in the next couple of weeks that we might be having a game internationally, and that game may be in Paris. That was said at a Greater New Orleans Quarterback Club on Tuesday. That's coming from Jeff Duncan of NOLA.com. And this comes after a report last month showed the NFL wanted to have 2 more international games next year. So we'll see if Paris is able to get a game next year. I've seen they're working on figuring out the stadium and stuff like that over there. So that remains to be seen. But that would be that'd be a cool little place to go play an NFL game. Then I've got 2 more little things. I don't know which one I want to talk about first here. I guess we'll just go with the MVP talks. There's been a lot of talk about who should be MVP this year. Matthew Stafford's up there, Jonathan Taylor's up there, Drake May, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I want to throw another name out there. He's not going to win it because of what position he plays, but Jackson Smith-Njigba having over 1,100 yards. He's like 300 yards ahead of the next highest receiver right now. He has been one of the most elite receivers that I've seen in a long time this year. He's putting up crazy numbers. I think the last that I checked, he was almost at 1,200. He's not going to win MVP because he plays wide receiver. MVP has become a quarterback award, not reward. And I hate that. Jonathan Taylor has played phenomenal all season for the Colts. And that's why he's up there. I still don't think he's going to win it. I think it's going to wind up either being Matthew Stafford, Drake May, or Josh Allen. Personally, right now I'm giving it to Stafford out of the quarterbacks. Josh Allen, he's been hit or miss this year. So we'll see. He's coming off of a 6-touchdown game against the Bucks. Couldn't remember who they played this past week. The Bucks. If he can play like that the rest of the year, then sure, I'll talk MVP, back-to-back MVPs. We'll see. He's going to be challenged on Thursday Night Football, and that's a good segue into my Thursday Night Football predictions for tomorrow night. It's the Bills and Texans playing. The Bills are going to be without Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, and Mecole Hardman. It was announced a little earlier this morning that those 3 would not play, so obviously Josh Allen's missing 3 weapons on offense. Now, my prediction for the game Thursday Night Football, I think the Bills do win. I think Josh Allen will carry that momentum where he had 6 touchdowns, 3 passing, 3 rushing touchdowns. Excuse me. Against Tampa Bay. But the biggest thing is the Texans not having C.J. Stroud. They're going to be starting Davis Mills again. If C.J. Stroud was in this game, I would say the Texans have a shot. They have a shot. They do have an amazing defense. I think they're currently ranked number 1 still in the league. I think they'll keep it close. But if Buffalo runs the ball, if they're able to run the ball against the Texas defense with James Cook and Josh Allen at the helm and have long drives and wear out the Texans defense, the score will probably show it was not that close of a game, but I think in reality it will be a closer game than expected. I think they're favored by 6 points or something like that. I could see them winning without running up the score at the end, if the Texans defense has been out for a long time on the field, I could see them winning by, 9, 10 points. But if they're able to if the Texans can stop the run game, this could come down to a field goal, 6 points, something like that. So I could see the score getting ugly and making it look misleading late, and everybody will be saying, "Oh, the Bills are fully back." I'm still not fully sold. Their defense has been not great, to say the least. Not great. The Texas offense obviously is very hit or miss with Nico Collins on that team. If CJ Stroud was playing, I would say, yeah, they're gonna score some points, but remains to be seen. I do think the Bills win this game. I'll say final score 34 to 20. I think a late touchdown makes it look a little uglier for the Bills. I think it'll be 27-20 late, and late touchdown makes it look ugly. So that's all I have for today. I know this is a short episode, but Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, hopefully coming up every week. We'll have different segments each time. Injury news, big headlines, predictions. I'm trying to work on a fantasy portion. If there's anything you guys want to see or have any critiques, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Make sure you hit like, subscribe. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this podcast goes with it being a one-man show. I've never done a one-man podcast before. I've always had at least one other person here with me. So, go easy on me. But regardless, till next time, I will see you guys on Friday.